Welcome to the Inspiring Tech Leaders podcast with me, Dave Roberts. Today's episode looks at this week's much-discussed Anthropic data leak. The leak occurred on the 31st of March, but the story broke on the 1st of April, leading many people to think that perhaps this was an April Fool's joke. But unfortunately, this wasn't the case for Anthropic. They have since issued a statement saying that no sensitive customer data or credentials were involved or exposed. They said that it was a release packaging issued caused by human error, not a security breach. Anthropic are now rolling out measures to prevent this from happening again. So why does this story matter? Well, this isn't simply a story about a company making a technical mistake. This leak has opened a rare window into how one of the world's most advanced AI coding assistants is actually built, how it operates behind the scenes, what Anthropic may be planning next, and why the future of AI agents could be far more powerful and potentially more risky than many people expected. For technology leaders, software developers, security professionals, and business decision makers, this story matters because it tells us where the next wave of AI is heading. So, let's start with what actually happened. Anthropic accidentally exposed a large source map file inside a public package for Claude Code. That source map file effectively allowed researchers and developers to reconstruct hundreds of thousands of lines of the underlying TypeScript code behind the company's AI coding assistant. Reports suggest the exposed codebase contained more than 500,000 lines across roughly 2,000 files. Anthropic stressed that no customer information, API keys, or sensitive credentials were exposed, but while there may not have been direct customer harm, the reputational and strategic implications are enormous. The reason this matters is because Claude Code is not just another chatbot. It is one of the most advanced coding agents currently available. Unlike a simple AI assistant that answers questions, Claude Code can inspect files, edit software projects, run shell commands, search through codebases, manage Git workflows, and orchestrate complicated development tasks across multiple steps. In effect, it behaves less like a chatbot and more like a junior software engineer with access to your machine. That's why this leak attracted so much attention so quickly. Developers immediately began digging through the recovered code to understand how Anthropic had engineered Claude Code's behavior. What they found was revealing. The exposed code showed that the real power of Claude Code does not simply come from the underlying large language model itself. Much of the intelligence comes from the scaffolding around the model. There are instructions, tool orchestration layers, workflow rules, memory systems, safety controls, permissions frameworks, and internal logic designed to guide the model through software engineering tasks. This is important because it changes the way we think about competitive advantage in AI. For the past few years, most people assume the key differentiator between companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, and others would be the quality of the underlying model. Which model is smarter? Which model scores higher on benchmarks? Which model produces the best answers? But this leak suggests something different. The real value may increasingly sit in the surrounding system design, the orchestration layer, the tooling, the workflow management, the memory layer, the interface between the model and the real world. In other words, the future winners in AI may not simply have the best models, they may have the best systems for turning those models into useful agents. That's a major insight for anyone leading digital transformation or evaluating AI investments inside their organization. What also became clear from the leak is that Anthropic appears to be building for a future where AI agents are persistent, collaborative, and far more autonomous than the tools we use today. Some of the code reportedly pointed to experimental features involving long-term memory, project context retention, multi-agent coordination, and even internal project names linked to unreleased products. There were indications that Anthropic may be developing systems capable of working across sessions, remembering previous work, and coordinating with other agents or services to complete larger tasks. That matters because one of the biggest limitations of current AI tools is their lack of persistence. Today, most chatbots have limited memory, limited context, and very little understanding of ongoing work. But imagine a coding assistant that remembers your codebase, understands your development standards, tracks unresolved issues, knows the history of previous decisions, and can continue projects over days, weeks, or months. That's a very different proposition. It is also worth remembering that Anthropic is not alone in moving in this direction. Across the industry, there is a race to build AI agents that are less reactive and more proactive. These agents are being designed not just to answer questions, but to complete tasks, make decisions, use tools, and operate with a degree of independence. Claude Code is part of that shift. The leak also exposed how much engineering effort is required to make these systems usable in the real world. One of the recurring lessons from the leaked code is that raw AI intelligence is not enough. Anthropic appears to have invested heavily in rules, prompts, permissions, fallback mechanisms, user controls, and tool management layers to make the agent safe and effective. There are safeguards to prevent destructive actions, mechanisms to ask for confirmation before making changes, and systems for handling ambiguity or uncertainty. That should be reassuring to organizations thinking about deploying AI agents internally. It highlights that successful AI adoption is not simply about plugging in a model. It requires governance, controls, guardrails, and clear operational boundaries. At the same time, the leak also exposed some uncomfortable truths about the risks of agentic AI. When an AI agent can run shell commands, edit files, access repositories, and interact with external systems, it creates an entirely new attack surface. The more capable these agents become, the more damage they could potentially do if compromised, manipulated, or poorly configured. Within days of the leak, security researchers identified a critical vulnerability in Claude Code. Separate researchers also warned that cybercriminals had already begun exploiting interest in the leak by distributing malware disguised as leaked Claude Code downloads. Some fake repositories included credential stealing tools and proxy malware. This tells us something important. Whenever a major AI platform gains traction, it will immediately become a target for attackers, fraudsters, and cybercriminals. We saw it with ChatGPT. We saw it with fake crypto projects. We saw it with phishing attacks impersonating Microsoft Copilot and Google Gemini. And now we are seeing it with Claude Code. For security leaders, this means AI governance can no longer sit solely with innovation teams or IT departments. It has to involve cybersecurity teams, risk managers, legal teams, and senior leadership. Another fascinating angle here is what the leak says about software development itself. The leaked code appears to show that even sophisticated AI products are not built in some magical, fully automated way. They are messy, they are iterative, they rely on huge amounts of orchestration code, configuration logic, utilities, and internal workflows. That is a useful reminder for organizations that may be overestimating what AI can do today. There is often a temptation to believe that modern AI systems can simply replace software engineers. But the Claude Code leak suggests the opposite. Behind the scenes, there are still armies of engineers building the layers around the model, refining prompts, testing behaviors, and managing countless edge cases. AI may make developers more productive, but it does not eliminate the need for skilled people. In fact, it may increase demand for people who can combine software engineering, AI literacy, security awareness, and operational thinking. The leak also gave the industry a rare glimpse into how companies are protecting their intellectual property in the AI era. Anthropic reportedly moved quickly to issue takedown requests and remove copies of the code from public repositories. But as we all know, once something is on the internet, it is very difficult to remove completely. Copies spread quickly across GitHub, forums, chat groups, and file sharing sites. That raises an important question for the broader AI market. If the value increasingly sits in prompts, workflows, orchestration logic, and agent design, how do companies protect those assets? Traditional software companies could protect code through licensing, patents, and closed-source development. But in the AI era, the competitive advantage may sit in less tangible elements like system prompts, tool chains, reinforcement techniques, or interaction design. Those things are often much harder to defend. And if competitors can study leaked code and quickly reproduce the same techniques, it could make the AI market even more competitive. Some analysts believe the leak could accelerate the spread of similar features across rival products. Competitors may now have a clearer understanding of how Anthropic structured its agent workflows, memory systems, and tool integrations. That could ultimately narrow the gap between AI vendors faster than expected. There is another dimension to this story that should not be ignored, and that is culture. Many of the details uncovered in the code suggest Anthropic has a fairly playful, experimental, and fast-moving engineering culture. Reports mentioned internal project names, feature flags, personality systems, experimental companion-style features, and rollout windows for unreleased tools. On one level, that is not surprising. Most leading AI companies operate with a startup mentality. They move quickly, test ideas rapidly, and ship features at pace. But the downside of moving fast is that mistakes happen, and in the world of AI, a small packaging mistake can suddenly expose 500,000 lines of proprietary code to the world. For leaders listening to this episode, there is a valuable lesson here. As your own organization accelerates its use of AI, you need to think carefully about governance, release management, and operational discipline. Speed matters, but so does control. Simple oversights can have major consequences. Whether it is exposing sensitive prompts, leaking configuration files, revealing internal workflows, or accidentally granting AI agents too much access, the risks are real and growing. The Claude Code Leak may ultimately be remembered as a warning shot for the entire industry. It showed us how powerful these systems are becoming. It showed us how much hidden engineering sits behind the scenes. It showed us that the future of AI is not just about smarter models, but smarter agents. And it showed us that with greater capability comes greater operational, legal, and security risk. Perhaps the biggest takeaway is this: we are entering an era where AI systems will increasingly act rather than simply respond. They will write code, they will manage workflows, they will coordinate with other systems, they will remember context, they will make decisions, and eventually they may become deeply embedded into the day-to-day operations of businesses. That future offers enormous productivity gains, but it also requires new forms of leadership, governance, and accountability. The organizations that succeed will not simply be the ones that adopt AI the fastest, they will be the ones that adopt it most responsibly. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for tuning in to the Inspiring Tech Leaders podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your network. You can find more insights, show notes, and resources at www.inspiringtechleaders.com. Head over to the social media channels. You can find Inspiring Tech Leaders on X, Instagram, Inspo, and TikTok, and let me know your thoughts on the Anthropic data leak. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in tech.